ओम श्री हनुमते नमः। कबलों के हमरे कबरिया हो बजरंग बली, कबलों के हमरे कबरिया हो बजरंग बली, बजरंग बली बजरंग बली बजरंग बली बजरंग बली बजरंग बली बजरंग बली। कबलों के हमरे कबरिया हो बजरंग बली, कबलों के हमरे कबरिया हो। ओम नमः शिवाय, 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 नमः शिवाय, ओम नमः शिवाय, नमः शिवाय, ओम नमः शिवाय, नमः शिवाय, ओम नमः शिवाय। पवन सुत हनुमान की जय। आसन लीजिए सब लोग, let us all take our seats. As we begin this beautiful night and worship once more, we take this golden opportunity to say once more cordial welcome, Jai Sitaram, Namaskar to all devotees, to all bhaktas who have taken this wonderful moment to join with us tonight. To the members of the celestial Gandarvas, we cordially welcome them as we extend the blessings of Mahaviri Swami upon them all. Tonight, all those who are tuned in via Facebook, to all those who are locked on via 103.1 FM, Facebook as well, and to all those who are tuned in via Sankhya Television, we say Swagatam, Namaskar, and a special Jai Sitaram to each and everyone. As we begin this night in continuation of our beautiful yatra, Ashta Siddhi Yatra, we continue with praises to Lord Hanumanji, where once more we remind devotees that our kathas have come from many different scriptures, merged together to understand the wonderful epic of that name itself, Shri Hanumanji. It has come from the Ramkshetramanas, the Valmiki Krit Ramayana. It has come from the Tulsi Krit Ramayana. It has come from Adhyatma Ramayana, joining together with the Sri Hanuman Ank and the Sri Hanuman Charitramanas. As we join together in worship of Lord Bajrangabali, we begin this beautiful night with invocation prayer. Wherever you are in this world, we specially welcome you to our wonderful yatra. Tonight, take a moment, pause, stop in everything that you're doing. Focus at the feet of Lord Hanumanji. Forget the world. And let us pray with Omkar 3 times. Om. वक्रतुंड महाकाय सूर्यकोटि समप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देवा सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा या देवी सर्वभूतेषु दुर्गारूपेण संस्थिता नमस्तस्यै 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 नमो नमः या देवी सर्वभूतेषु लक्ष्मीरूपेण संस्थिता नमस्तस्यै 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 नमो नमः या देवी सर्वभूतेषु सरस्वती रूपेण संस्थिता नमस्तस्यै 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 नमो नमः नमस्तस्यै 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 नमो नमः चरण शरण में आई के हर तिहार राजा कष्टों से रक्षा करो, कष्टों से रक्षा करो। पवन पुत्र हनुमान, हाथ जोड़ विनती करो। सुनो वीर हनुमान, संकट से रक्षा करो, संकट से रक्षा करो। हे अंजनी खेला पवन पुत्र हनुमान, पवन पुत्र हनुमान. As we begin this night, salutations to Lord Hanumanji. As we chant his name with love and with devotion, all together, beautiful 40 verses of Shri Hanuman Chalisa. Shri Guru Charan Saroj Raja Nijamana Mukura Sudhari Varnao Raghuvar Vimal Jasu Jodaya Kupalachari Buddhihina Tanu Janiki Sumiro Pavana Kumar Bala Buddhi Vidya Dehu Muhi Haro Kalisha Vikar Sukha Karta Jai Jai Hanumanta Dukha Harta Jai Jai Hanumanta पवन सुत हनुमान की जय. जय हनुमान ज्ञान गुण सागर जय कपीश तिहु लोक उजागर रामदूत तुलित बल धामा अंजनी पुत्र पवन सुत नामा महावीर महावीर विक्रम बजरंगी सुमति निवार सुमति के संगे कंचन वरण विराज सुवेशा कानन कुंडल कुंचित केसा हाथ वज्र और ध्वजा विराजय कांधे मूंज जनेऊ साजय शंकर सुवन केसरी नंदन तेज प्रताप महाजगवंदन विद्यावान विद्यावान गुणी अति चातुर राम काज करबे को आतुर प्रभु चरित्र सुनिबे को रसिया राम लखन सीता मन बसिया मंगल भवन मंगलहारी द्रवौ सुदशरथ अजर विहारी सुख करता जय जय हनुमंता दुख हरता जय जय हनुमंत सुख करता जय जय हनुमंता दुख हरता जय. क्या बात हो. जय श्री राम. हर हर महादेव. सूक्ष्म रूप धरि सियहि दिखावा विकट रूप धरि लंका जरावा भीम रूप धरि असुर संहारे रामचंद्र के काज सवारे लाए सजीवन लखन जियाए श्री रघुवीर हर्षि उर लाए रघुपति कीन्ही बहुत बड़ाई तुम मम प्रिय भरतहि सम भाई ससवदन तुमरो रस गावे हस कहि श्रीपति कंठ लगावे सर्कादिक ब्रह्मादि मुनीषा नारद शारद सहित ईसा यम कुबेर दिगपाल जाते कवि कोविद कहि सके कहाते तुम पुकार सुग्रीवहि कीना राम मिलाय राज पर दीना मंगल भवना मंगलहारी द्रवौ सुदशरथ अजर विहारी सुख करता जय जय हनुमंता दुख हरता जय जय हनुमंता सुख करता जय जय हनुमंता दुख हरता जय जय हो. जय श्री राम. तुमरो मंत्र विभीषण माना लंकेश्वर भय सब जग जाना युग सहस्त्र योजन पर भानु लील्युताहि मधुर फल जानु प्रभु मोद्र का मिलिन कमाई चल दिलांगी गए अच भजनाय दुर्गमता जगत के जेते सुगम अनुग्रह तुम्हारे तेते राम दुआरे तुम रखवारे उतन आज्ञा बिन पैसारी सब सुकला है तुम्हारे शरणा तुम रक्षक काहू को डरना आपण तेज समारो आपै तीनहु लोक हांकते कापै भूत पिशाच निकट नहीं आवे महावीर जब नाम सुनावे मंगल भवन मंगलहार तवौ सुदशरथ अजर विहार सुख करता जय जय हनुमंता दुख हरता जय जय हनुमंता सुख करता जय जय हनुमंता दुख हरता जय 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 श्री राम। रोग हरै सब पीरा जपत निरंतर हनुमत वीरा संकट ते हनुमान छुड़ावे ब्रह्म वचन ध्यान जो लावे सब पर राम तपस्वी राजा जिनके काज सकल तुम साज और मनोरथ जो कोई लावे सोई अमित जीवन पल पावे चारों युग पर ताप तुम्हारा है पर सिद्धा जगत उजियार साधु संत के तुम रखवारे असुर निकंदन राम दुलारे अष्ट सिद्धि नवनिधि के दाता असबर दीन जानकी माता राम रसायन तुम्हारे पासा जरा रहो रघुपति के दाता मंगल भवन अमंगलहार तवौ सुदशरथ अजर विहार सुख करता जय जय हनुमंता दुख हरता जय जय हनुमंता सुख करता जय जय हनुमंता दुख हरता जय 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 बजरंग बली। क्या बात हरी भजन राम को पावे जन्म जन्म की दुख बिसरावे अंत काल रघुबरपुर जाय जहाँ जन्म हरि भक्त कहाय और देवता चित्त न धरहि हनुमत से सर्व सुख करहि संकट कटे मिटे सब पीरा जो सुमिरय हनुमत बलबीरा जय 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 हनुमान गोसाई कृपा करहु गुरुदेव की नाय जो शत बार पाठ कर कोई तू बंदी महासुख होय जो यहाँ पर हनुमान चालीसा होय सिद्धि साखी गौरीसा तुलसीदास सदा हरि चेरा की जयनाथ हृदय महादेरा मंगल भवन मंगलहार प्रभु सुदशरथ अजर विहार सुख करता जय जय हनुमंता दुख हरता जय जय हनुमंता सुख करता जय जय हनुमंता दुख हरता जय जय हनुमंता सुख करता जय जय हनुमंता दुख हरता जय जय हनुमंता सुख करता जय जय हनुमंता दुख हरता जय जय हनुमंता सुख करता जय जय हनुमंता दुख हरता जय जय हनुमंता। पवन तनय संकट हरन मंगल मूर्ति रूप राम लखन सीता सहित हृदय बसहु सुरभूप पवन सुत हनुमान की जय। There are many different types of devotion when it comes to God in life. There are different pathways that will lead to the same one direction. It is said, when one wants to attain moksha, liberation, with the blessings of the Divine Lord, there's what we call Bhakti Gyan and there's what we call Atma Gyan. Lord Hanumanji had shown the world through the epic of the Ramcharitamanas as being one of the most perfect bhakta when it comes to Bhakti Gyan and devotion. While many saints and sadhus and maharishis will sit down probably at the base of a tree, go at the tip of the mountains, sit at the bottom of the ocean or at the rivers, on the banks of the nadis. It is said many sadhus will sit there and through immense tapasya, atma gyan, knowledge, wisdom, they will try to acquire the feet of the Lord. But through that most beautiful, one of the purest of devotion, called Bhakti Gyan, Lord Hanumanji, He is there. On this beautiful night, while we begin our message, we continue with our Katha. Last night we would have heard where Brother Lakshmana, Prabhu Ramachandra, they had fallen due to the serpents that would have bound them together. It is said Garuda, he left the skies and he left the feet of Prabhu Vishnu Bhagavan and he came down to the earth. And there when he saw Prabhu Ramachandra, by simply flying around the bodies of Rama, Prabhu and Lakshmana, the serpents left. And in a rage, it is said as soon as the eyes of Lakshmana were opened, he stands up and he grabs onto his bow and he then fills it with arrows. And he says today, if Ravana feels that he will put me down and my brother, then he will think again, for he won't be able to. Lord Hanumanji stands there, and while he holds his Gada and his Mukdar, he says, Prabhu, Jai Shri Ram, victory in your name and in your glory. For as long as Lord Hanumanji stands, Prabhu, you will always be protected. It is said Mahavir Swami, preparing for the war to continue another day, he glorifies his Lord. This is how we will glorify our Lord tonight. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Sita Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Sita Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Sita Rama, Rama Rama. Umapati Mahadeva ki Jai. Rama. Hari. Jai Shri Ram. Radhe Govinda. Hare Ram, Rama Ram, Sita Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Ram, Rama Ram, Sita Ram, Ram Ram. Jai Shri Ram. Hare Rama, Rama Ram, Sita Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Rama, Rama Ram, Sita Rama, Ram Ram. सबको Hare Rama, Rama Ram, Sita Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Rama, Rama Ram, Sita Rama, Ram Ram. Hari. Ram Ram Sita Ram, Ram Ram Sita Ram, Sita Ram Sita Ram, Ram Ram Sita Ram, Ram Ram Sita Ram, Ram Ram Sita Ram, Sita Ram Sita Ram, Ram Ram Sita Ram, Ram Ram Sita Ram, Ram Ram Sita Ram, Sita Ram Sita Ram, Ram Ram Sita Ram, Ram Ram Sita Ram, Ram Ram Sita Ram, Sita Ram Sita Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Sita Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Sita Rama, Rama Rama. Prem Susmapati Mahadeva ki jai, Bajrangbali ki jai. On this beautiful night, as we continue to our wonderful epic taken from the golden pages of the Sri Hanuman Ank, it is said Bajrangabali, he stands next to Prabhu Ramachandra and he says, after I saw you and Lakshmana lying there as though you were not alive, Prabhu, my heart, it quaked on the inside. Lord, I felt as though I was becoming emotionless. I couldn't feel myself anymore. Lord, I don't know what I will do if I were to lose you in this world. I give you my word that we will win this war. Prabhu, please stand strong and fight strong. Lakshmana got up with the bow and he got up with the arrows, and when he filled that bow with arrows, he walked up towards the wall of Lanka, and seeing the wall, he was ready to charge with all his energy. He calls out, Ravana, why would you hide behind walls of a palace? Come out if you're this great king. And Ravana, after hearing the celebration of the monkeys and the bears that the Lord had regained his consciousness, he says, no, I must do something else now. He decides to call more of his generals to fight this war. He calls more of his army men. He's calling some of the best that he has. Scripture says he calls one by the name of Dhumraksha. Dhumraksha was one who was mighty and was powerful. He would sit on his chariot, and his chariot will be driven by donkeys. He will tell Dhumraksha, you go on to the field and destroy them if you must. I'm tired of seeing their strength. Show the world the power of Ravana. Dhumraksha, he went on to the battlefield. The gates have opened, the gateways of Lanka. And Dhumraksha enters the field. When he enters, as soon as he enters the field, Hanumanji looks at Nal and Neel and he says, why don't you take care of him? Show Ravana the strength and the power of the army of Prabhu Rama. Nal and Neel, they have gone into the field, and seeing Dhumraksha, what would they do? They are monkeys and bears. They don't have weapons, so what will they use? They will take rocks and they will take trees, and they said with one huge boulder, with one huge rock, Nala, he lifts it in the air and he throws it at Dhumraksha. As much as powerful as Dhumraksha is, he's no match for Nal and for Neel, much less Sri Ram, and much less, my friends, Lakshmana. Think about it tonight. As soon as that boulder hits Dhumraksha, it is said he falls unconscious on his chariot, and there the charioteer turns around and he takes him back directly into Lanka. Friends, Umapati Mahadeva ki jai. In life, so many people will pelt us down. I grew up hearing this saying. My grandmother would say it. Throughout my life and throughout yajnas and prayers and puja and homes that I will attend, you hear the common saying that when people have to go for mangoes, which mango they will pelt? They will look for the best ones. They will look for the ripe ones. When someone goes by a tree and they're about to pick the fruit of that tree, they will not take the green ones. They will take the ripe ones. They will take a rock if they have to. They will take a rock and they will pelt at it if they have to. In life, people will try to pelt us down. In life, people will look at us, and the moment we start flourishing and becoming successful, people will try to pelt us down. But in the name of God, we will always rise when you're simple-minded, when you're humble, and when you put God first. That is why before every new venture, you put God first. Before every endeavor that you're about to undertake in your life, God comes first and foremost. Katha tells us, Dhumraksha has been destroyed, and he goes back with his chariot and he goes back to Ravana. Ravana sees what is taking place and he says, you know what? I will send another one of my generals and my minister. He's powerful. He calls his team together. He's calling everybody together. He wants to use every one of his resources. He sends another by the name of Vajradanta. Vajradanta, he was one who his teeth were like diamonds and they were long. It is said his teeth were sharp. When he would to go onto the field, it is said his weapons were that like diamond shaped and yet sharp at the same time. Think about it. Are they any match for the Lord of the universe? People say in their life every single day we have an enemy. No matter how big your enemy is, they are no match for God. Have you heard this saying that many people say? People say when you sit to pray to God, do not tell God how big your problems are, but instead tell your problems how big your God is. Which is so true. Because when we sit before God, sometimes the first thing that comes out of our mouth and our lips are simply to say, Lord, you see this problem, you see what is happening, Lord, you see this child in my life, you see this person in my life, and we start venting out and we start crying out. But instead of venting, Lord, you know my heart, you know my mind, you know what is to be, you know what is not to be. Lord, I put you in charge. That should be your prayer. Lord, you are in charge of my life, and what is to be, allow it to be, because I put you in control of my life. Dear Bhaktas, when Prabhu Ramachandra, standing on a distance, still at the top of Suvela mountain, he sees the war, the field, and he sees these generals are coming out, these army men, they're coming out. He's sending one by one. At this time, he sends Angad. He says, Angad, I want you to show Ravana the strength of your form, Angad, as it is. Angad goes, and he says, Prabhu, this is easy. He takes a tree and he roots it out from the earth. And he walks up not too far from Vajradanta. And he takes that tree and he lifts it in the air with one swing. He releases the tree. And the tree is swirling in the air until it hits Vajradanta. And as soon as it hits him, unconscious even, he falls. How many of them will come one by one to be destroyed? How many of them will have to die in order for Ravana to see what is to be? And Ravana says, you know what? Let me send one more. This one more. His name is called Akampana. He's called Akampana. Akampana was sent by Ravana. Ravana says, I know you're strong. I know you're one of my generals and I know you're powerful. Go to the field and see what you can do. And there the gates have opened again. And now Akampana is going onto the field. In Ramayana, in Tulsidas Ramayana, in Valmiki Ramayana, and even my friends in the Sankat Mochan Charitramanas, it is not mentioned, but in Sri Hanuman Charitramanas, Mahaviri Swami, according to the Sri Hanuman Ank, Mahaviri Swami, he has given names to each one of them who came out. Why? Because when any one of them would have come, Hanumanji would have said to all of them, what is your name? Shout out your name to my army, because this is the last time your name will be heard. In Sri Hanuman Charitramanas and Sri Hanuman Ank, the names of these, as we say, the characters and the name of these warriors were called out. Akampana walked onto the field and Hanumanji says, why waste time? Jai Shri Ram! He lifted one boulder 3 times his size and there he threw it, crushing Akampana. In no time, he was destroyed. He didn't even get to lift a weapon. He didn't even get a chance to lift his sword or to even to pick up a bow. Ravana is on top of his palace and he looks down now. And you know what he sees? He's seeing bloodshed. He's seeing all his warriors, they are dying. He's seeing that his warriors have lost. And there he sits to ponder, did I make a mistake in underestimating this one that people call Ram? Did I make a mistake in understanding how powerful he is? But then he snaps out of it and he says, you know what? I can't be weak. And then one of the head ministers of the chambers come. And the minister says, Ravana, it is time. Don't let the world see your entire army being destroyed. You are Ravana. Why don't you go onto the field? That is your enemy. It is time for you to go onto the field. Ravana says, are you sure? Even then he's shaking on the inside. Can you fight God? Can any one of us fight God? We cannot stand up to the might and to the power of the divine Lord, but yet sometimes in an argument, yet in our rage, yet when things don't work the way we want it to work, we stand up by the Murti and we say, God, come now. Come, show me. We stand up as though God will come out of the Murti and stand up and you will do what you have to do. Friends, in our rage and in anger, we may show the world and vent to the world. But when we sit before Murti, all God wants is love. Shri Ram Jai Rama Jaya Jaya Rama Shri Ram Jai Rama Jaya Jaya Rama. Oh. What does God want from us? Love, devotion, our heart, contentment, humility, simplicity, goodness from our heart. What does God really want from you? Your outpouring love.
that is filled with purity. Today, Prabhu Ramachandra, he's standing on the battlefield, and Ravana says, probably it is time. It is time that I go onto the field. So Ravana pulls up his gears and he says, now I must go. I must go onto the field and I must show the world the power of Ravana. The world doesn't understand. But Ravana is a bhakta of whom? Ravana is a bhakta of Mahadev. So Ravana, he decides to go to his little altar and he puts his hands together. And when he goes to the altar, who does he pray to? This is where he prays now to Lord Shiva. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Ravana goes to the altar and he sees his lingam. And he starts to prostrate to Lord Shiva. He says, Mahadev, today I will fight this war. And I am your bhakta and your devotee, and I expect you to stand with me. Kailash Parvat, Lord Shiva and Parvati Mata, they are sitting there, and Parvati Devi looks at Mahadev and she says, are you going to help him? It is as though the wife is sitting or the Dolahin is sitting and saying, Prabhu, look at the battle, look at the cry of Sita Devi Mata. Lord, will you help such a person? And Mahadev is looking down, and there Ravana, he's about to sing. Namo Mahadeva Shambho, Namo Sada Shiva, Jaya Parameshwara, Jaya Bhuvaneshwara, Jai Shiva Shankara. Bhuvaneshwar, Jai Shiva Shankara. Om Namah Shivaya. Hari. Hara Hara Mahadev. Bhuvaneshwar, Jai Shiva Shankara. Jai Bholenath. Hare Bam Bam Bola. Parvati Shankar Ganga Jatadhara Shankara Om, Jai Shiva Shankara Om, Jai Shiva Shankara Om. Om Namah Shivaya. Ravana prostrates to the lingam, and after prostration, he turns around and he starts to put on his armor. He's about to go onto the battlefield. He dresses himself fit for war. And there, he looks at his ministers who has remained. He looks at Mandodari. Mandodari walks up to him and she puts her hands together and she says, Ravana, won't you learn? He is Prabhu Ram. He is Lord of the universe incarnation. Ravana, please, don't leave. I fear you may not return. And Ravana, my friends, he looks at her and he says, Mandodari, jao yahan se, go from here, leave me. I'm strong. Melankeshu, don't lecture me today. Go back to your room and stay there. Ravana, he comes down and he mounts himself on his chariot. And there the chariot is about to go onto the battlefield. Scripture tells us that when Ravana goes onto the battlefield, he allows some of the warriors to go at the front. Behind, he stands on his chariot and the chariot is going in. While the chariot is going onto the battlefield, it is said all the warriors, their hands are filled with weapons. They are holding swords, they are holding arrows, they are holding mallets, they are holding javelins, they are holding, my friends, spikes. They are holding maces, the mukdar, they are holding iron bars, they are holding spears and axes and bows and arrows. And they've come to fight the army of Prabhu Ramachandra. And what does the army of the Lord have? Rocks and trees. That is what they have. The army of Ravana is filled with weapons, and the army of the Lord has rocks and trees. The army goes onto the field. Ravana allows his ministers and his warriors to go first. Prabhu Rama is standing on a distance and he's looking down. He says, Angad, Jambat, Nal, Neel, Sugriv, you go to the field and show Ravana the strength that we have. And as soon as Ravana goes onto the field, Prabhu Ramachandra is speaking to Lakshmana. Hare Bhaiya, Vibhishan, where is Ravana? And when Prabhu Ramachandra looks, he sees coming onto the field on a golden chariot. On top of the chariot it is white. Ravana is coming. He's decked with his crown. He's holding his bow. He has arrows. He has a sword on his waist. And he's coming out. And Prabhu Ramachandra, he looks at Vibhishan and he smiles. Prabhu Rama, he sees his enemy and he smiles. Does that say something? Umapati Mahadeva ki jai, Bajrangabali ki jai. Lord Ram sees his enemy and what does he do? He smiles. Look at that. When you get angry and you have an enemy, what do? Yeah. We screw up the face. We wring up the face. We get agitated. Our heart starts to beat faster. Our heart starts to palpitate. We feel as though we can run up to them and we can hit them down. When we are agitated with somebody, the pressure goes up. The stress level starts to raise. We get angry from within and feel as though we could break up the whole world. That's so? Can we really? Prabhu Rama, he looks at the Ravana, the one who has abducted his wife, Sita Devi, and he smiles. And you know what he says? He says today, Vibhishan, is that Ravana? Look how handsome he looks. Look how fair-skinned he looks. Look how strong and nice. Look at his aura. He could take that aura and do something good with it. You know what, devotees? We have an aura. We have an energy. And we can choose to do what we want with our energy. When we pray, we get a positive vibe and a positive aura connecting us and surrounding us. We could take that aura and help people. But when we get agitated and angry, the same aura turns dark and we can destroy people. We can do good with the blessings that we have and we can even do bad with it. Lord Ram says, I feel sorry for Ravana. Not that the fact that he will die, but I feel sorry for Ravana because look how fortunate he is. He has a kingdom. He has a nice aura. He has an army. He has all these jewels decking him with his crown. And with everything that he has, he will lose it all. I feel sorry for him. Vibhishan, I feel sorry for such a person. And Vibhishan says, he says, Prabhu, many people in the world will live. They will achieve. They will accomplish their goals, but not many people appreciate even what they have. Do you know how lucky you are just to have a home? Do you know how lucky you are just to have a roof over your head? Do you know how fortunate you are? While traveling the world, many people know I go all over the place. I am Narad Muni. I travel everywhere. Many people know that while I travel, I have so many experiences where people are begging for something to eat. I have had many experiences where many children are coming and they're saying, Baba, I don't have something to use in school. Baba, I don't have pens. I don't have pencil. Do you remember when you used to go to school and you would use your pencil? To those who are here tonight with us, I'm sure all the media won't see, but the devotees who are here with us, remember the days when you will go to school and you will get a pencil, and when your pencil or the point has broken, you'll have to sharpen it and go down again. And you will sharpen it if it broke again, and you go down again, and you sharpen until sometimes I see people with a pencil. The pencil originally was this, and now they have a little one like this because they sharpen until it reach like this. And you know what? You make it do. Today, if a child gets a pencil and the point is broken, throw it out. I want a new one. What is the purpose of the point, right? Today, we waste and we throw away food. We throw away things that we have. We don't appreciate the little things that we have. We have clothing, and yet it is never good enough for us. There are people who are begging for a piece of clothing. There are people who are begging, my friends, every single day in the world. Prabhu Rama says, when will we learn to appreciate what we have? I feel sorry. There's a beautiful part of the Tulsidas Ramayana that says that when Prabhu Ramachandra, he heard of the loss of his father, he says, Lakshmana, don't cry for my father who lived a good life. But he says, cry for the people who are living. You ever hear people say, don't cry for the dead, cry for the living. Don't cry for somebody who has died and they will go on with their journey and live according to what they must be in their Atma, in their soul, and in the astral world. But for the people who are alive and don't know how to live, do you know many people living and they don't know how to live? There are many people who are living and don't know how to live. In one of my Chalisas that I was chanting for the daily Chalisa, I said to each and every one that not many people are lucky and fortunate. Lucky are those who can understand that living life, my friends, is not for anything and just anything. But living the life that we have is living to have a good time and not just a long time. Because not many people may be able to live long. But with the little time that we have, make it a good one. Listen according to Ramayana. Shri Rama Jai Rama Jai Jai Rama Shri Rama Jai Rama Jaya Jaya Rama Shri Rama Jaya Rama Jaya Jaya Rama Shri Rama Jaya Rama Jaya Jaya Rama. Kya baat? Jai Shri Ram. Tarapi Sabah ho, Tarapi Sabah sichiya pari kare nijatanu isha nijatani mari. Shri Ram Jaya Rama Shri Ram Jaya Rama Jaya. Sochi naya ho, sochi naya sabahi vidhi soi, jo na dhar ki jano hari janoi. Shri Ram Jaya Rama Shri Ram Jaya Rama Jaya. Jai Ram, Shri Rama Jai Ram, Jaya Jaya Rama. Oh Shri Rama Jai Ram, Jaya Jaya Rama, Shri Rama Jaya Rama, Jaya Jaya Rama, Shri Rama Jaya Ram, Jaya Jaya Ram. Shri Rama Jaya Rama, Jaya Jaya Rama, Shri Rama Jaya Rama, Jaya Jaya Rama. Shri Vrindavan Bihari Lal Ki Jai. Tonight, devotees, Prabhu Rama, he looks at Vibhishan and he says, I look at your brother and I feel sorry for him. He has so much wealth, he could have done so much good with it. But instead, he lives a rogus life and he will steal the wives of so many people. And he will have to pay for that. He says, I feel sorry for him. Today, my friends, feel sorry for the people who have and they throw away. Feel sorry for the world today who doesn't know how to appreciate. Simple as a car, a vehicle, food, shelter, clothing, and most importantly, people in your life. Nowadays, people live in a world, we live in the dark age of Kali. And as soon as you feel agitated and angry, you feel that you need to vent on somebody. As soon as things don't go the way you want it to go, maybe in your job, maybe in your personal life, maybe at school, maybe something or the other, we are ready to vent and blame somebody. You're ready to say it's somebody else. Prabhu Ramachandra, he says, I look at his energy and I feel sorry. Ramayana, according to the verses, when Prabhu Ram spoke to Lakshmana, he says, when someone dies, we cry for them. We hurt, we miss, we grieve, and we mourn. But instead, send love for them. Instead, grieve for the people who are alive and don't know how to live. Grieve and feel sorry for the people, or pity the people in the world who are alive and they don't even take a moment to pray. How many people sacrifice to take a moment to pray? And how many find it a hard time just to pray? How many people complain when it means to come together, to sit in your little altar in your home or even go to the mandir? How many people complain, I'm too busy, maybe tomorrow, maybe the next day I'll try, give me 2-3 days and I'll see what I can do. And how many people make it happen? Because in the name of God, we must make it happen. Do not put off God, my friends, but put God first. Om Bhur Bhuva Swaha. And Prabhu Rama says, Lakshmana, pity and feel sorry for the people who don't even know the Gayatri mantra, much less to pray. Today is a day where devotees around the world, they worship Bhagwan Surya. Wherever you are in this world, it is a blessing to chant the Gayatri mantra tonight. Om Bhur Bhuva Swaha Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Diyo Yona Prachodayat. With love for the Divine Lord, once more we sing Om Bhur Bhuva Swaha. And while Prabhu Ram is speaking to Lakshmana, this is what he does. He picks up his bow and he places it on his shoulder. He says, I want to go meet Ravana now. Lakshmana, give me my quiver of arrows. But while he's about to place the quiver of arrows on his shoulder, Lord Hanumanji comes up to him and he stands in front of him. Jai Shri Ram! Prabhu, it is not time yet for you. Lord, it is not time yet for you to fight Ravana. Prabhu, I want a chance first. Prabhu, Sugriva is waiting. Prabhu, Angad, Nal, Neel, they're waiting. They want a piece of Ravana first. Prabhu, please, you wait. It is not your moment. Your time has not come. And while Lord Hanumanji says it, Prabhu Ramachandra, he smiles, and amidst the world of problems, he continues to now whisper in the ear of Vibhishan. Om Bhur Bhuva Swaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Diyo Yona Prachodayat. Jai Shri Ram. Om Bhurbhuvah Swaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Om Bhurbhuvah Swaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Hari Viturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Om Bhurbhuvah Swaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. It is said on the battlefield, Ravana, my friends, he's coming out, and while he comes out, he sends his warriors to fight. But while he sends his warriors, he's coming out and he's taking his time. When Hanumanji says, Prabhu Ram, it is my time now. So Prabhu Ramachandra, he waits. And while Bajrangbali, he calls Sugriv, and he calls Nal and Neel, Angad, Jamwant, they're closing in on Ravana. And when they reach closer, it is said they start taking rocks and boulders and they're throwing it at Ravana. And while they're throwing these boulders at Ravana, even Lord Hanumanji, it is said he jumped for 1 second, he jumped onto the chariot and he took his gada and he hit it on the chest of Ravana. Ravana, he was pushed backwards, but he looked at Mahaviri Swami and he says, is that what you have? At that point, my friends, Lord Hanumanji, he goes back onto the army, onto the field. And there Ravana, he starts to mount his arrows and he starts to release. While Ravana is releasing arrows onto the field, it is said many people will die. It is said many people will die at that point. Many of the clan and many of the army men on the field of Prabhu Ramachandra, they will die because that is also the power. That is also the strength, my friends, of Ravana. He took one arrow and there he held it in his hand and he said a prayer. And when he released it, aiming at Sugriv, it is said hitting on the shoulder of Sugriv, Sugriv fell to the floor. It is said after hitting Sugriv, he then shot an arrow and he hit Angad. And Angad fell to the floor. And while he fell to the floor, Lord Hanumanji, he's telling them, come back, don't go further. We don't want anyone to be hurt. Prabhu Ram, standing on a distance, he mounts his arrow and he aims at the crown of Ravana. And there he shoots off the crown of Ravana. And as soon as the crown falls to the ground, Ravana, he sees Prabhu Ramachandra smiling back at him. He becomes scared for a moment. He feels a shock within his heart because no one would dare hit off the crown of his head. And when he looks for it, listen. बोलिए ओम
तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो न प्रचोदयात् धियो यो न प्रचोदयात् धियो यो न प्रचोदयात् धियो यो न प्रचोदयात् धियो यो न प्रचोदयात्. All together. Om Bhurbhuvah Swaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Na Prachodayat Dhiyo Yo Na Prachodayat Dhiyo Yo Na Prachodayat. Vrindavan Bihari Lal ki. The crown of Ravana fell to the floor. And when the crown of Ravana fell to the floor, he turned around to pick it up. But when he placed his hands around the crown, behind him Hanuman Baba came, and Hanuman Baba says, he says one more warning, finally again. And if you do not take heed, your next trip will be to the god of death, Lord Yamraj. Jai Narayan. Lord Hanumanji gave a warning, and he says, after this you will go to Lord Yamraj. But at that point, Lord Hanumanji stepped back. Ravana saw what was taking place, and he knew to himself that he was underestimating this little crew. So he looked at his charioteer and he says, turn around, I am not ready yet, let us go back inside. Ravana went back on the inside of his palace, and as soon as he entered, he started taking off his armor, and he went down and he sat down on his chambers, and there he started to think, something is wrong. Did I think too fast in acting? Did I think too fast? Have I done something that is wrong? And even then, he's blinded by the ego and the maya of the world, still asking again and again, what have I done wrong? Who should I blame at this point in time? In life, devotees, how many of us, we look for excuses and we look for people to blame when we can't blame ourselves? How many of us in the world, we do so many things and we do so many wrong acts, and even then, we don't know how to let go. We live in a society that loves to make excuses. As soon as something goes wrong, it's not me, We live in a society where as soon as something doesn't go right, it wasn't me, I was never there. I wasn't even there. No, everybody could see. I had nothing to do. It was him. It was her. She did it. He did it. We live in a society where people are ready to point fingers. Nobody knows what is right. Nobody knows what is wrong. But we are ready to point fingers. We may not even have valid reasons for things around us and in our lives. We probably in our lives would have gone through certain things, but yet we are ready to blame people. Nobody. How many people in the world can take it upon themselves to say, you know what? I made a mistake. I am sorry. In a home, in your job, in your personal life, in a relationship, between brotherhoods, sisters, how many people can stand up sometimes with that inner strength and say, you know what? I want to tell you something. I made a mistake. I am sorry. Half of the world today has fallen apart because nobody has the strength to say, I am sorry. Many people in the world today, homes have broken apart. Brothers have stopped talking to one another. Sisters have stopped talking to one another. Brothers and sisters have fallen apart. Parents and children have fallen apart because nobody is big enough to say, hey, I made a mistake and I am sorry. A husband and a wife, spouses, they will fall out for days and for weeks and for months, and they will never speak. And sometimes all it takes is for somebody to say, you know what, I understand. I am sorry. It takes one little moment of strength to make who you are, my friends. But instead we allow the ego of the heart to make us think that we are better. We sit sometimes and without a reason we start blaming ourselves even then. God, why me? Why my life? Why did it have to happen this way? And even then we won't say, Lord, I'm sorry for the mistakes that I make. Please forgive me. You see that word, forgiveness? Only when you can forgive yourself, you can move forward and you can start afresh and you can start new, friends. When Ravana sits down, he's blaming himself and he doesn't know what to do. And an idea comes to mind now. He calls one of his generals and he says, come. 9 days ago, my brother woke up
I need him. Wake him back up. 9 days ago, he spoke to me. I want him to wake up. So they ordered everybody from the kingdom that they needed. And there they will go now to wake him up. It is said an entire army has to go alone just to wake him up. An entire army goes, and they have gone now with so much. Scripture tells us today, in order to wake him up, they have gone with drums, they've gone with trumpets, they've gone with shells, the shank, they've gone with so many forms of instruments, so many weapons. They've gone alongside him and they must wake him up. He is tall, he's mighty, he's powerful. His name is Kumbhakarna. He is called Kumbhakarna. He is the brother of Ravana. He is big, he is tall, and he's strong. And he is the one Ravana says in mind, now they will find someone who can destroy them. Wake up, my brother. Umapati Mahadeva ki! You think about this tonight and you tell me if this is right. They need to wake up Kumbhakarna. And to wake up Kumbhakarna, they take drums, they take trumpet, they take, you name it, shank, they take bell, they take a whole army to wake him up. Do you know people who sleep so strong? Do you know people who go to sleep and no matter what happens, they can't wake up? I'm sure even you have been put in that position. Have you found yourself even setting an alarm sometimes because you need to get up and that alarm could ring all night? And you open the eyes just to put it on snooze and you go back to sleep. And you ring again and you put it on snooze a second time, and after the third time you never hear anything. The next time you wake up, you're late for your job, you're late for everything you have to do. Do you sleep like Kumbhakarna? Kumbhakarna is fast asleep. Nobody can understand. But you see, one day as a child when Kumbhakarna was small, he loved to eat. How many people love to eat? Yeah. He loved to eat so much, but he was a Rakshasa. And as much as he would eat food, that desire for food became too much. That hunger was too much, that even food could satisfy him. And as a child growing up, he started as a Rakshasa, now to pry and to look for children in the village to even eat them. He started to look for people in the village. He would look for people and he will try to kill them. He is now demonic. He is a Rakshasa. He will destroy them and eat them. And while he was destroying the world, the saints and the sages, they went to pray. And they prayed to Lord Brahma. Om Brahmadev Namaha. They all put their hands together. Om Brahmadev Namaha. And Brahmadev, he manifested before them. They are saying, Brahmadev, this Kumbhakarna, he's a child and he's destroying all of us. He's destroying our family. He's eating every one of us. We need to do something to stop him. And Brahmadev says, I will shrap him. He raised his hands, and it is said as a ray of light and energy, as a shrap coming down to the earth. He shrapped Kumbhakarna as a child. And he says, because you have a big appetite and you eat so much and you eat the people of the village, from today I will shrap you. From today, you will go to sleep for 6 months and you will not wake up. You will wake up for 1 day, and on that 1 day when you wake up, you will eat your belly filled, and you will go back for another 6 months and sleep again. Kumbhakarna was shraped that he will sleep for 6 months and he will wake up 1 day and he will go back for 6 months again. Some of us, we don't even have a shrap, but we sleep as though 6 months could pass. Think about that. The reality of life and the reality of the world. Some of us, we go to sleep and we hear nothing. And we wake up and we eat and we go back to sleep again. You see the Kumbhakarna behavior? Now think about this. I was just thinking about this earlier. Kumbhakarna was sharp to go to sleep. He will get up and he will eat his belly full and go back to sleep. It is a shrap, it is a sin, it is a pap. It is a shrap to live a life where all you do is sleep, get up and eat, and sleep again. That is a shrap by itself. Those who can get up and be versatile and vigilant and be up and moving and about, it is a blessing by God. Not everybody could do it. Think about it. I remember one fellow who would go to sleep and he would wake up 3 o'clock in the day. And he will get up and eat and just go out a little bit and come back, and time to eat and sleep again. And people like that are still alive. That is a shrap, my friends. How much are we supposed to sleep? There's a lot of contradictions. I don't want to say what I don't know. But there's a lot of contradictions where medically they might say you need 8 hours sleep, or as a baby you need 10 hours sleep. But in the ashrams of India, they tell you that if you were to sleep for that 8 or 10 hours, even 11 or 12, think about it. If you're 50 years old, 25 years of your life you sleep in. Because half of the day you sleep. Half of your life have been wasted in sleeping only. And the other half, you're so caught up in daily life and the world, how much is put to God? So think about it today. How much should you sleep? You should get that enough, the energy enough, or sleep enough to get energy to get up and move again. Some people believe it and some people may not believe it. Some people ask me, Pandit, where do you get the energy from? There are days when I get sometimes 3.5 hours sleep alone. And I get up and I go. But you know what? You keep that energy. There were saints and sages of the universe who would take what we call a power nap. They would simply lie down and they will go into that samadhi or that deep sleep state. And they will get the energy to go on and on. They don't need to sleep 10 and 12 hours. They will get little sleep, but yet it could go a long way. And then while we speak about sleep, how much should you eat? Hari Narayan. Sometimes we complain about the size we are having or the belly size that we are growing, or the size that we are building up. But you know something? In the ashram and according to our scriptures, it is said that you're supposed to eat when you're hungry. Scriptures again, I'm not saying what probably may be right medically, because I'm sure my medical godchildren might deal with me for that. But I'm simply saying that Guruji in India said to us that the body calls out for what it wants. When you feel sick and the body says, I feel to eat something, I feel probably I need to drink some tea, or I feel for some honey, or I feel for something in my body, is because the body is telling you what it wants. The body is saying that it's lacking something and it wants something. When the body is hungry, it will symbolize. It will allow the body to know that I am hungry. When the body is hungry, what do you feel? You feel inside as though it is eating away. And then it starts to make a sound. You hear the tummy making noise. When you're hungry, the body calls out to say, I want food. When you eat, how much are you supposed to eat? Just enough to be comfortable. Not belly full and flowing, because after that your belly will look full and it will overflow. How much are you supposed to eat? Guruji will always say, eat how much you feel to eat, and when you feel contented and good and you could move about, that is good enough. When you feel hungry again, you eat again. But sometimes we overeat, and when we eat too much, at that point we can't move, we feel like we could roll now. Because you put too much into the body. You eat when you're hungry, and you do not eat belly full, but you eat just to be comfortable. Today, friends, while Kumbhakarna lives like this, he gets up and he eats. Prabhu Ramachandra, he's in the tents. Night has dawned. And while night has dawned, Ravana has built this plan. Ravana sent his entire army to wake up Kumbhakarna, knowing fully well that Kumbhakarna has a weakness. What is the weakness? He could eat for 1 day and he could sleep for 6 months. If he wakes up on that 1 day to eat and anybody wants to fight him, even if the gods come, nobody will be able to defeat him because he will be filled with strength. But if within that 6 months that he has to sleep, he is awakened at any point in between, he's not as strong as he is. That is his weak point. He had awakened 9 days ago, and Ravana says, I don't care, wake him up. He has to fight in his war, not thinking that that is his weak point. Wake him up, he has to fight. So they are trying. It is said the army men, they are going towards him and they're taking weapons and they're poking at him. And they're trying to make all the sounds in the airs, and they're trying to knock the drums, and they're blowing the trumpets, and they're blowing the shank, and they're trying. And with all the sound, with all their might, all that happened at that point is he simply inhaled deeply, and he yawned, and he turned the other side, and he continued to sleep again. As much as they could try, it is the hardest thing to wake him up. They didn't know what to do anymore. He's so big. They went up to the air drums and they started to beat, and they're beating and they're blowing now the sounds, and they're blowing the trumpets and they're making the noise. And while he's becoming agitated because the noise is becoming too much, turning and twisting from side to side, Suddenly he yawns out aloud. And when he yawns, he looks to his side and he sees the army men who are there. He sees an entire army on his side. And he takes his hands and he wipes them out because he's tall and he's strong and he's powerful. And there he sits up. And before he could wipe out the last soldier that is there, the soldier puts his hands together and he says, Maaf kijiye, please, forgive us, forgive us. Ravana has summoned you. Ravana is in need of your help. And he has called you. And there he yawns, he gets up, he takes some of the milk and some of the water that is on his side and he drinks it. And he there puts on, at that point he puts on his gears and he starts to go towards the palace of Ravana. And while he's going, he's wondering, what is the problem now? But he's heading towards Ravana at this point in time. While he goes towards Ravana, he opens the doors and he enters. And when he reaches at his point, his section of the palace where he can stand with the height and enter, Ravana is standing there. Ravana says, my brother, I've called you. I need your help now. That one on the battlefield, his name is Ram. He's causing problems. He has a brother, you remember? And there Kumbhakarna says, but 9 days ago you told me about it and I said, Ravana, give back that Sita Devi, that little woman who's sitting there beneath the Ashoka. She will cause destruction to the entire palace of Lanka. Just give her back. Ravana, he says, hey! And he is about to take out his sword. He says, Bhaiya, remember you live because of me, brother. Brother, you live because of me. You get food because of me. You sleep comfortable because of me. Do not turn your back. I've already turned away one brother of mine, Vibhishan. Don't be like Vibhishan. Listen to my words and destroy this one that is called Ram. Without even saying anything more, Kumbhakarna, he says, as you wish, my brother. He turns around. It is night and he's about to go onto the field and he's now creeping up and walking to the Sovila mountain. He's seeing all the tents. And while he's seeing the tents, he's now looking with his eyes sharp to see who is in the tents and all those are there. And he's seeing the army, he's seeing the monkeys and the bears and he's seeing everyone. It is at that point, Prabhu Ramachandra, he felt uneasy from his sleep, so he decided to wake up for a moment. And as soon as he woke up, in a distance, he sees this tall individual. He doesn't know who he is. He calls, Bhaiya Lakshmana, oh, dekho na, look. And Lakshmana sees somebody tall on the battlefield. Call Vibhishan, we need to know who he is. And Vibhishan, after hearing the call of Prabhu Ram, he wakes up and he goes now and he's about to now speak to Prabhu Ramachandra. And while he goes to speak to Prabhu Ram, he says, Prabhu, that is my brother. His name is Kumbhakarna. He is powerful. But you know what, Prabhu? This is not the time that he's supposed to be awake. So this is our time if you must destroy him. According to Ramayana, a beautiful chaupai says, Shri Rama Jaya Rama Jaya Jaya Rama Shri Rama Jaya Rama Jaya Jaya Rama Nidhanat kara sabha karu sabahi Jagadadhar seshakini dharai Shri Rama Jaya Rama Jaya यह कौतुकल जनई सोई जन पर कृपा राम के होई श्री राम जय राम जय हो हरि
Jaya Rama, Shri Rama Jaya Ram, Jaya Jaya Rama, Shri Rama Jaya Rama, Shri Rama Jaya Ram, Jaya Bole. Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Shri Ram. Prabhu Ramachandra, he's looking at Vibhishan and he says, is that how big your brother has become? Vibhishan says he's mighty and he's powerful. Don't underestimate him. But this is his weak time. He was not supposed to be up. Let us now not wait. Morning is about to dawn soon. Let us go and destroy him while we can. Prabhu Rama, he sees him and he sends out all the others. He sends Sugriv and Angar and Nal and Neel, and Hanumanji goes onto the field. And as soon as Sugriv walks onto the field, Kumbhakarna holds him by the hand. He holds him from the earth and he lifts him and he squeezes him and he says, today I will eat you. When he holds Sugriv and he squeezes Sugriv, Sugriv becomes unconscious. And while he becomes unconscious, before anything can happen, Mahavir Swami, he turns to Prabhu Ram, he says, Prabhu, Jai Shri Ram, Jai Shri Ram, Prabhu Ramachandra ki Jai. He goes onto the field and he says, today, weapons may not hurt him, but I need to be his size in order to defeat him. He goes onto the field and there he holds his gada and he starts to chant his name, Jai Shri Ram, Jai Shri Ram, Jai Shri Ram, and he starts to grow to his beautiful size. Jai Shri Ram, Jai Shri Ram, Jai Shri Ram. All the monkeys around him and all the bears will chant his name. Bajrangabali ki Jai, Bajrangabali ki Jai, Bajrangabali ki Jai. And he holds his gada and he says, today, put down Sugriv. Today you will find your match, Kumbhakarna. And size together, my friends, they are the same height. But Bajrangabali waits and he waits for the opportune moment. And as soon as Sugriv has been placed on the ground, Prabhu Ram, he mounts an arrow and he shoots into the arm of Kumbhakarna. And when he shoots into the arm, Bajrangabali takes his garan with one blow. It is said Kumbhakarna falls to the ground. And when he falls there, Prabhu Ramachandra walks up to him and he's about to speak to him. Prabhu Rama, he says, Kumbhakarna, don't move. Kumbhakarna looks at him and Kumbhakarna is angry. I will destroy you. And Prabhu Ramachandra says, save your breath. Because very soon your eyes will close and you won't see anything more than what you're seeing right now. Feel blessed that you're visualizing the form of Prabhu Rama. Lakshmana stands there. Vibhishan walks up to his brother. And Vibhishan says, Bhaiya, why don't you listen to me? Stop this fight, you will lose. I spoke to Ravana and he never listened. It is at that point, on the last moment, Kumbhakarna is lying there on the ground and he says, but brother, I don't know what to do. I want to destroy this Ram Prabhu because I can't die like this. And even then, he says, brother, why don't you listen? My love is here for you. Brother, I stood up to Ravana just like you did. Do you remember that beautiful song? That beautiful song that spoke about the love of brothers together? It is a song, my friends, where two brothers stood together. I remember it. I saw it in one movie that I always love. It goes like this. सूरज कब दूर गगन से, चंदा कब दूर किरण से, कुशभू कब दूर पवन से, कब दूर बहार चमन से, ये बंधन तो प्यार का बंधन है, जन्मों का संगम है।
Oh, 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 oh. Bhai, Bhaiya, don't wake up. Don't open your eyes. Look at the Lord, visualize Him in your mind, and leave. Don't fight, brother. And even then He says, brother, I have love for you. But then even with ego, even with hatred, He says, brother, stand back, I will destroy him. And Prabhu says, I'm giving you one more moment and one more chance. I'm giving you one more moment. Vibhishan, brother, I put my hands, please. Kumbhakarna says, we have a big brother Ravana. Why can't he listen? Why has he made me this way? Friends, Ravana told the world that he's the biggest brother and everybody have to listen to him. But Vibhishan says, it is not about who is big, but if God is on your side, then you work with the rules and the energy of the Divine Lord. Prabhu Ramachandra, he says before we go further, he steps back now and he mounts an arrow and he says, you will learn your lesson today and you will burn your deeds and your karma. And then he releases an arrow and he cuts the limb, he cuts the arm of Kumbhakarna. He mounts another arrow and he then releases and he breaks the other arm. He releases a third and he shoots off one of the leg. And then he releases a fourth and he then shoots off the leg. And he says, now you will die. Due to your actions, you will pay for it. And you will die. Ravana is above and Ravana is looking down at him. And he feels the hurt and his pain. He says, I've lost one when I sent him away. Now I lost a second. What will I do? He sits down and he starts to grieve now. When you lose your loved one, how do you feel? When you lose the people in your life, how do you feel? That is why we always say in all the prayers and all the yajnas and all the satsang, don't wait to lose the people in your life, but appreciate them while they're there. Dukha sukha dono रहते जिसमें जीवन है होगा कभी धूप कभी छाँव कभी धूप कभी छाँव ऊपर वाला पासा फेंके नीचे चलते जाओ कभी धूप कभी छाँव कभी धूप कभी छाँव क्या बात भले भी दिन आते जगत में बुरे भी दिन आते भले भी दिन आते जगत में बुरे भी दिन आते करवे मीते पल कर्म के यहाँ सभी पाते कभी सीधे कभी उलटे पड़ते अजब समय के पाँव कभी धूप कभी छाँव कभी धूप कभी छाँव क्या खुशियाँ क्या गम ये सब मिलती बारी बारी क्या खुशियाँ क्या गम ये सब मिलती बारी बारी मालिक के मर्जी पे चलती ये दुनिया सारी ध्यान से कहना जगन्या में बंदे अपने नाम कभी धूप कभी छाँव कभी धूप कभी छाँव Ravana, my friends, he's sitting in his palace and he looks down and he says, I've lost one, I've lost two, what will I do now? He sits and he says, you know what, I think I should go and end this war. I've underestimated my enemy, I must go and now do what I have to do. And when he sits there to ponder, to think, it is said, he feels a hand moving his hand. You know, sometimes when we are stressed and we are worried, we sit and we prop the chin. While he has propped his chin and is there, he feels a hand moving away his hand. And that hand says to him, it says, Pitaji, don't worry. Pitaji, we will stand with you. We have come to stand with you, Pitaji. Who has come? It is said, the 4 sons of Ravana have come. And while they are standing next to him, they say, Pitaji, don't worry. We are your sons and we are strong and we are powerful just like you. Our mothers have blessed us. And for this we will fight this war and we will end it once and for all. Vrindavan Bihari Lal Ki Jai. Some people say, but we never knew Ravana had sons. Ravana had 7 sons. Do you know that? It is said while Ravana was at that point wed to Mandodari, that was his main queen at that point in time. But many people he would have abducted in the years. And while abducting them, it is said the main queen at that point was Mandodari. It is said second to Mandodari was Dhanyamalini. The third wife is said after she gave birth, she ran away. Her name hasn't been seen too much in scriptures. But with his 7 sons, Indrajit, Atikai, Akshay Kumar, Devantaka, Narantaka, Trishira, and Prahasta. We heard in last night's message where Prahasta had died and Ravana became infuriated. Today, my friends, 4 sons, they've come together and they will stand together and they've decided that they will stand together and they will destroy now the entire army. They have a special blessing. They were blessed with sorcery. That even if they go to fight, they could disappear if they wish. They were blessed with sorcery. So they decided to mount themselves and go onto the chariot and go onto the field. And as soon as they go onto the field, they started to split themselves now. But the entire army is standing there. It is said, Mahavir Swami, he says, Angad, you go. And when you go onto the field, you destroy Narantaka. It is said with 1 blow, Narantaka was destroyed. Hanumanji, he smashed Devantaka with 1 rock. Devantaka had died. It is said Trishira and Artikai, they were destroyed by Lakshmana. But nobody saw that while they were destroying them, Indrajit, he found his way out. And when he found his way out, he was one who had a power that he could disappear in the skies and nobody would see him. The only thing you will hear is the bell of his chariot being heard. You will only hear the shaking of the bell on his chariot. He would go into the skies and will go into the clouds. And while he will go into the clouds, he will look down and will start to rain arrows on the earth. The entire army of Prabhu Ram is there, and now arrows are being shot down on the field. And while the arrows are being shot, at this time, it is said many of the army men of that battlefield, they are dying fast because nobody could see him. They only seeing a shadow moving throughout the clouds, back and forth. Who is there? Nobody knows, but it is Indrajit. And Indrajit is shooting these arrows. It is said like missiles falling on the earth and bursting apart, destroying everyone who's there. Indrajit is so powerful that as soon as he started shooting arrows, at that point, it is said Sugriv, even him was shot. Sugriv was shot and he fell to the earth. At that point, Sugriv is starting to bleed as though he will die. Angad was shot on the ground. Nal and Neel, they were shot with the arrows because they can't see anything. Mahavir Swami, Jai Shri Ram. He goes up into the skies and he goes up into the air, into the clouds, and he's looking to see what is taking place. And all he can see is a light. He cannot see the chariot and he cannot see Indrajit, but he sees a light. And with the speed in the air that he goes to grab the light, as soon as he holds on to it, the light disappears and it transforms into a woman into the skies. And she's laughing at him and she's saying, you think you're powerful? You don't know who I am. And she disappears. In his hand she disappears. Mahavir Swami goes back down to the earth. Nobody could see him. Nobody could see Indrajit. That is sorcery, my friends. Mahavir Swami, he says, Jamwant, do something. Prabhu Rama, Lakshmana. Prabhu Ram, Lakshmana, they start mounting their bows and they're searching but they can't see anything. So they're just releasing the arrows into the air and they're shooting blindly and nobody could see. And while the arrows are shooting down on the earth, The atmosphere is becoming cloudy and dusty. The atmosphere on the battlefield is becoming dusty, my friends. Nobody could see anything and nobody could see anyone, but the arrows are shooting down. Everyone is falling on the ground because nobody could survive. Lakshmana feels his shoulder being hit. Another shoulder being hit. And there, Indrajit, he says a prayer on an arrow and he creates poison. And he aims it at Lakshmana and he shoots an arrow of poison into the chest of Lakshmana. Immediately the chest area of Lakshmana became blue and purplish. He fell to the ground and Lakshmana seemed as though he is dead and he can't move. Prabhu Ramachandra looking out and he still can't see anything. But Prabhu Rama, he released another arrow, and before the arrow could reach into the skies, another arrow from the skies hit the Lord on his shoulder, and Prabhu fell down to the earth. When Prabhu Ram fell to the earth, devotees, the atmosphere was cloudy. Nobody could see, not even the hand in front of them. Jambant is hit. Angad, Nal, Neel, Sugriv. There's no one who can be seen. Is the army of Prabhu Ramachandra dead? Is the army of Prabhu Ramachandra not alive? Prabhu Rama has fallen on the ground. He's hurt. Lakshmana has been shot close to his heart. It has become blue and purple. And no one will rise. Indrajit celebrates his victory. And when he celebrates, he turns and he's about to go back on the inside. And when he goes, he's saying, Prabhu Ravan, you are the Lord now. I've destroyed Ram Prabhu. On the field, Jamwant, my friends, he's scraping from the rubble that is around him because there are bodies everywhere. There's blood everywhere. Prabhu Ram is down. Lakshmana is down. Nobody is seeing anyone. Nobody standing on the field. Nobody is alive. When Jamwant pulls and he tries to pull the rubble, he feels the hand of Vibhishan. Vibhishan, are you okay? And Vibhishan says, I am fine. And Jamwant says something. He says, where is Hanumanji? At that point on the field, Vibhishan looks at Jamwant and he says, have you no shame? Have you no shame? We are standing on the side of Prabhu Ram, and before you ask for the Lord Ram Prabhu, you ask for Hanumanji? And Jamwant says it out aloud. He says today, let the world know that if Hanuman is alive, then the army will survive. But if Hanuman is not alive, we don't stand a chance. In the midst of all the dust in the air and in the midst of all the rubble that is there, they start seeing, the scripture says, a blur. They start seeing a white blur with the air surrounding. And who is standing on the end, my friends? He says, Parakram se gunji tribhuvantanati patala dushtavanjan jala sagara kare padare vandantrika nirantara loka vanjan. And he's standing there. Shri Guru Charana Sarojaraja. The devatas in the atmosphere, they are looking down for the strength of the Lord. Jai Hanuman Jnana Guna Sagar Jai Kapishati Huloka Ujagar Ramaduta Tulita Baladama Anjani Putra Pavana Sutanama. Bajrangabali ki! Bajrangabali ki! Bajrangabali ki! He's holding his gada. He's standing there. Jai Shri Ram! Jai Shri Ram! He walks up to the Lord and he lifts Prabhu Ramachandra and he says, today I am Bajrangabali and this army has not died. Today we will do what we must. Prabhu, as long as Hanuman is alive, the army will win. And if Hanumanji is not alive, we will never survive. Jamwant, he walks up to Bajrangabali and he shouts out his name out aloud. Pavana Sutta Hanuman ki Jai! Bajrangabali ki! Bajrangabali stands, and when he sees the Lord, he prostrates to Prabhu Ramachandra and he says, Lord, Shri Rama Jai Rama Jaya Jaya Ram. As long as Rama lives in my heart, they can't destroy me. As long as Prabhu Ram is instilled in my consciousness, they can't destroy me. Shri Rama Jai Rama Jaya Jaya Ram. Shri Ram Jai Ram Jaya Jaya Ram. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jaya Jaya Ram. Prabhu Rama is standing, but what about Lakshmana? Lakshmana's heart, his chest has turned purple, and he didn't wake up at that point. Prabhu says, Bhaiya, utna. But he didn't wake up at that point. And yet Jamwan says, we need help. Hanumanji, his entire chest has been poisoned, and we need help. Bajrangabali, Vibhishan, and there Vibhishan says, I know what to do. Tomorrow night, we will find out what will take place. Prem Susmapati Mahadeva ki Jai, Bajrangabali ki. Tomorrow night, Lord Hanumanji will save Lakshmana. But tonight, my friends, as we pray to the Divine Lord, as we worship the energy of Mahavir Swami, this is where we stand for a beautiful arati. Arati ki jai, Hanuman lala ki, Dushta dalana Raghunatha kala ki. Arati ki jai, Hanuman lala ki, Dushta dalana Raghunatha kala ki. Arati ki jai, Hanuman lala ki, Dushta dalana Raghunatha kala ki. जाके बल से गिरिवर कापे, मृग दोष जाके निकट न जाके। जाके बल से गिरिवर कापे, मृग दोष जाके निकट न जाके। अंजनी 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 पुत्र महाबलदाई, संतन के प्रभु सदा सहाय। देवीरा रघुनाथ पताए, लंका जारी सिया सुधि लाए। देवीरा रघुनाथ पताए, लंका जारी सिया सुधि लाए। लंका से कोट समुद्र सिकाई, तात पवन सुत बारन लाए। लक्ष्मण मूरत परे सकारे, आनी संजीवन प्राण उबारे। लक्ष्मण मूरत परे सकारे, आनी संजीवन प्राण उबारे। पैती हो पैती पताई, तोरे जमकारी, अहि रावण की भुजाओ जारी। मुनि आरती उतारे, जय 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 हनुमान उतारे। सुनर मुनि आरती उतारे, जय 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 हनुमान उतारे। कंचन 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 तारक पूर लोचाई, आरती करत अंजना माई। हनुमते नमः। ओम श्री मारुतात्मजाय नमः।
बजरंग बली हो बजरंग बली 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 हो बजरंग बली 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 त्वमेव माता च पिता त्वमेव त्वमेव बन्धुश्च सखा त्वमेव त्वमेव विद्या द्रविणं त्वमेव त्वमेव सर्वं मम देवदेव त्वमेव सर्वं मम देवदेव ॐ शान्ति 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 हरि ओम। जय श्री राम। ओम नमो हनुमते नमः। ओम नमो हनुमते नमः। नमो हनुमते नमः। ओम नमो हनुमते नमः। जय श्री राम। ओम नमो हनुमते नमः। ओम नमो हनुमते नमः। ओम नमो हनुमते नमः। ओम नमो हनुमते नमः। जय बजरंगबली। ओम नमो हनुमते नमः। 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 ओम शांति 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 हरि ओम। प्रेम सुषमापति महादेव की जय। वृंदावन बिहारी लाल की जय। बजरंग बली की जय।